Welcome to my virtual campfire. I'm Crystal Kelly. In Season 2, I am exploring with you as masters of our own experience in an epic and unique time in the history of conscious life. We are all being called to do something unknown. I'm turning to the ancient wisdom when fire was the quantum shift that catapulted humanity. Now, we are the shift. When we connect consciously, we are connected with the new earth. We become the new earth human family. Through vibrations and conversation, let's enter this superhighway of consciousness and co-create within the quantum realm of light.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well,
how are you doing?
Good. I'm really excited to chat and hear about your Tattoo Vinyasa. I want to hear all about what it is and then maybe possibly how to integrate that into a vision I have of wanting to really work meditation, try to work meditation into, it's in my life, but I want to really help people learn how to meditate, because I find that like some people are maybe afraid of it, or they just don't know what it is. But I think considering the state of the world that we're in right now and the amount of healing that needs to happen and the just, I don't know where we are on our planet and humanity and where our consciousness lies right now. I think we all need to work on elevating our consciousness higher and higher. And I know that for me, meditation has helped a lot in that. So I just want to spread it, you know, it's
awesome.
I feel pulled to teach people how to meditate.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree and definitely support that. That type of movement upward and into a more conscious state of being, for sure.
Yeah. This morning I did a meditation at the new Google headquarters on South Lake Union. And it's funny, only 4 people showed up, which
okay.
is,
that's still
it's
4
a
people.
win. Because it's
still 4 people.
Yeah, it's 4 people, and 2 of them had a meditation practice and 2 of them didn't. And the 2 that didn't had never meditated before. So it was a really cool balance of like people just dropping in and, I felt like they were in the zone instantly. And then the other 2 kind of shuffling around and finding out where their space was. And it went for like 40 minutes. I did like a 40-minute meditation with sound bowls. Like I play crystal bowls. And it was a wonderful experience. It was really nice.
Awesome. Well, that is a win, and congratulations. That's 4 people is amazing, because those 4 people now are going to have some experience, and they may show up again, and they may tell more people. I strongly believe that if you can make a difference in one person's life, you're doing something. And that's really what has continued to evolve my path as well. So
yeah.
Awesome.
So Jon, can you tell me about, like, in your words, what the Tattoo Vinyasa is? Because I have some image in my head, but I don't know if it's what you're thinking.
Sure. Yeah. So just maybe a little bit of history is helpful too, yeah. Just because gives you a little bit of context. Actually, I was thinking when we were moving toward this conversation, I was thinking about when we first met and how I tattooed you, and I was working in the shop, and I think you were just walking in, right?
No, my friend Angel knew you.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I had a tattoo when I was like 18, and it was a circle of waves on my back. And I liked the concept of why I got the circle of waves. And I've always been a water activator. And I mean, I'm all about water. And so it still resonated with me, but I didn't like, if I looked at my like body as a piece of art, its composition wasn't the right scale, if that makes sense. So I wanted like a larger piece on my back. And a friend of mine had this great idea to turn the waves, the circle, into the eyeball. And then it's like it's a big third eye is kind of how I see it. And it's at the base of my spine, which I think is kind of a cool power spot in your body too. So, but yeah, Angel had referred me to you.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten about that connection. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so I was working at a shop where there was a lot of the way that shop was run was very much focused on the business aspect of tattooing, making money and that sort of thing. And what I ran into there was something. They would just give you like sometimes you wouldn't even meet the person. They'd just set you up an appointment with someone, and then you were gonna you're meeting them for the first time, and you're gonna tattoo them that day. Something small maybe. And so this particular situation really had a rippling out effect, because this person came in very obviously struggling with some very deep issues, and they were they asked to get tattooed. They were set up with me, and they wanted a tattoo that I thought was just like curious. I was like, well, I'm not sure. I'm definitely gonna need to talk to this person before we do the thing, because I really want to see where this.
Can you say what it was?
It was a word, some lettering, and it was the word speak that was it was juxtaposed over itself, like sort of at a random angle, in two different colors. And I was like, this is really interesting. And so I sat down with this person when they came in, and we had a chat, and I just got the feeling like they were having like, this was sort of a talisman to try to get themselves to be able to like speak more honestly to themselves and into the world, what they were feeling, thinking. And there was a lot of hesitation around it too. And I just thought, well, this is really, let's talk about this a little, because I feel like I'm not sure that you're clear on what you want right now. There's no rush. I tried to make that very clear, but I was also getting pressure from the shop to do, to just like tattoo people. And I was getting big, like into my intuition and my guidance system waving big flags and saying like, well, hold up, And so I listened to that, and in spite of the situation and the pressure around me at the time, I talked with the woman, and I thought, I said, I encourage her to take more time and think about it. I said, if you're not ready to talk to me about it, that's totally fine. But I would just encourage you to take a little more time to think about this, to be really intentional about what you want. And I feel like I wanted to help her symbolize that intention in a way that was going to be something that A, wasn't super literal, B, that was going to like provide her with a continual reminder of that into the future, and just to slow down the process a little bit, because it's like, why rush? This is like the most permanent thing we can do to an impermanent vessel. Right. So funny enough, she was like, yeah, okay, I think that's a good idea. And she left. And I said, oh, I figured like we'd talk again in a few days or a few weeks or whatever. She came back in 45 minutes.
Oh.
I was like, oh, she's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. And I was like, really? 45 minutes, huh? And so also because of the pressure and stuff, I was like, well, okay, I guess we can do it. And I went against my intuition.
Yeah.
And that, so done deal. And not long after, like, just because of the conflict and sort of like the way that I prefer to work and the way things were going in there, I left that shop. And I started to think more deeply about that experience and what I was going to take away from that. Later, I go to get a laser session for myself. I was going to get like an old tattoo lasered so I could like get something else on top of it, because it was very dark. So I go to the laser technician, and she's very sweet, and she's like, oh, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting in the waiting room, I'm like, wonder if I've done any tattoos that have been lasered off, you know.
Totally.
And so like I look through the book and I don't see anything. I go have my session, and she's like, oh, here's some other stuff I've done this week, and she flips through her camera, and there's that tattoo.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I've done that tattoo. I did that, you know, and you just took it off somebody. She's like, wow, how does that make you feel? And I was like, I'm gonna be sitting with that for a while. I don't really know. And as I went on, it really became clear, like the space that I hold for people, that the way that I work with people, it just didn't really fit exactly. It was like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing with the current way that people typically are tattooing. And so with the main focus being on like, oh, let's get them in, get them out, you know, do the thing, and you know, all about that type of you know, instant gratification with very little attention being paid to like what the opportunity really is. To like, we're marking ourselves, and we're this is a bloodletting ritual as well, and we're doing like this we're going through a rite of passage. And so all of these things that have been like part of my path in me getting tattooed, and also like it started to like gather steam and expand into like how I was working with people, having been, you know, around a lot of ceremony and around a lot of you know, intentional work, shamanic work, all sorts of different layers of diving into our stuff, has really continued to bring that into more clear focus over the last 10 years or so. And so because I'm an initiate and a practitioner of tantric yoga, a lineage, also have a lot of ceremony background relationship with the Native American families that I connect with, a lot of Lakota people and so on. Just sort of like kept getting nudges from elders, from spirit, and many other areas in life to kind of like continue this work and moving in this direction. So actually a couple of my mentors, Dr. Robert Svoboda and Sri Kapilnath, who's my lineage guru, both sort of like, I presented my ideas to them around this just for feedback, and they helped kind of get the language around what Tattoo Vinyasa is. So I was calling it something a little bit different at the time. And so Vinyasa, as most people that are into yoga and so on know, is there's an idea of flow there. There's like a beginning, a middle, and an end. Vinyasa, the V prefix is related to something very special, unique, poignant, important. And yasa actually is a tantric practice where we are placing a lot of it is like mantras and using names of deities and so forth, placing them on the body. So we're doing this like in sort of an energetic and a magical sense almost, if you will. And so tattoo by its very nature is Nyasa. We're placing on the body in a very indelible way. So really I've expanded, I've done a bunch of workshops and had time to like process, kind of like evolve the thing from being very, very niche. I was using a lot of yoga language and so forth. And so like, I've kind of pulled it out of that into language where it's not going to be so confusing to people who don't speak that language, or who don't resonate with like, or know what Sanskrit
anyone
terminology
who's
is.
Not from Seattle. I feel like if you're from Seattle, like we all speak like that. But
Many do. So yeah, it's basically I've evolved it into a 5-week program where a lot of lifestyle level up that gets us into what is the intention around what we're doing. So it's a way that we're going to use the opportunity of tattooing to dive deeper into what our purpose is in life, and what our gifts are, and also what the birthright of our human life is, which is to become sovereign beings that are capable of so incredibly much.
yeah.
So I'm endeavoring to I have a program starting tomorrow. Actually, we kick off a new program tomorrow, which is 5 weeks long. And we each week we get to discuss and parse out some very important points. And we go through a vinyasa, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think it sounds very beautiful. I think that I have a Navajo mentor who's the wisdom keeper, and Patricia Ann Davis, and she says that we can live in loving ceremony, like even in our day-to-day lives. And so ceremony is so vacant from, I think, mainstream life, I guess. Like you don't hear many people talk about ceremony, but having ceremony and having like dedicating time and intention, and like you said, getting to know kind of, I call it like the soul's purpose, like what is my mission in this human life? Like we've all been incarnated so many times, but we're here now. And it's like at this like precipice of humanity where we're going through a huge evolutionary and conscious shift globally, like collectively together. And I feel like when things really shift, there's change, and not everybody likes change, but when you're settled in your own mind about like who you are or what your purpose is, it's a lot easier to accept change in the outer world, because then you can see like, okay, things are new here. This is where I can fit in and help, And so like, I think that what you're doing helps people really find their purpose and like say like, okay, we're all going through this big shift, and making tattoo ceremony is like exactly how it should be. I think, I mean, art is powerful, and then you put it on your body,
Right.
it makes it like wow, that's, a commitment, and it should be ceremonious. So I feel like you're a visionary, but you're a change agent is what Patricia calls them. You're taking something that a lot of people get tattoos these days. I mean, it's almost kind of mundane, in a way, some of the things that I see.
Right.
Right. And it's all our choice. I mean, I'm not judging it. It's just, you're right. It's become a like, oh, it's Wednesday, I'm going to go get a tattoo. And, and it's more than, it should be more than that. So I think it's, what has been your response to your program?
A pretty huge feedback on all levels related to what I've been doing. It's been very positive, feel very welcomed by most folks. I would say, like, on the one end, you have people that are just like, sort of the idea of putting more time and effort into like some of these choices, where it's like, sure, I have no problem with somebody that just wants a tattoo, and we're just going to do the, do the exchange and get you walk out with the image, and great.
Yeah.
Who I'm really trying to show up for is the people who want to. I'm happy to do tattoos just on the regular here and there, but who I'm really trying to show up for is those people that are wanting to see the opportunity for what it is and go deeper, and something that's going to push not only themselves out into, by the very nature of getting tattooed, we're moving our mind beyond our body, beyond the flesh, and that's a big deal. And I think, like, there's so much more there for people potentially. And I've coached people through the experience so many times in so many different ways that I've just naturally developed like some things that I find very helpful, and I've seen it to be proven so very helpful in terms of the process. But it's a rite of passage, and it's like, what have we got in the modern world, like, or postmodern, even if it is now, that we have we have our driver's license, we can drive at like 16 or something like this, and we could, like, now with drinking age is like variable in some states, but 21, and then we have like 20, so 25 we could like rent a car.
Yeah.
So it's like, silly. Why are we bereft as a society of important ceremonies? We graduate at college or high school graduations, like one of the biggest things, and it's like, you got the cap and gown, and you do the thing with the walking down the stage in front of everybody. But like, I don't know a lot of people where that really hits them, that really lands deeply for them. And so and we look at cultures in our immediate area where they've come from, a more connected with nature, more connected with the rhythms of life and things like that, and so and living in a different way. Not that long ago, huge potential for change if we get very, very present in the now with what's happening, and we can do something meaningful with, like, marking rites of passage, because that helps us give us context for our journey. And so much of what we do in our lives is like related to story and narrative, which is something that I dive into in Tattoo Vinyasa, with how we symbolize our journey and our narrative, and like how we show up in different roles for ourselves. So a lot of these things, I feel like it's been a huge response for people, like actually 2 people in this most recent program are people who have taken a previous Tattoo Vinyasa program.
Oh, cool.
They're doing it again.
Return people coming back.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's very, very gratifying to see that effect is like continuing to generate movement for them. So
I mean, you could honestly be at the very beginning of like a type of tattoo revolution, because
I hope so.
I know, like, I hope so too, because I think that earlier this year, I was saying that the 2020s are like the decade of the 2020s are going to be a complete creative shift, like a creative revolution of sorts, where because things in the world are changing so much, we have to tap into our creative sides a little more. And so when things like that happen on especially a global level, I can only think of how many different creative people out there are like, okay, we need to co-create this future of what we're doing. And that's kind of my purpose of this podcast, is to hear stories like your story and how you're changing the methodology behind the, not only the thought process of like getting the tattoo, but also the process of actually doing it. And then, like you're saying, using that as your story, as a marker in where you're at. And it's revolutionary. And I think there's a lot of creative people right now that are doing similar things in different fields, you know. And so I find it fascinating to be talking to you when you're just at the edge of this, like, super, I mean, you're doing it, so it's already there, but I just could see this really catching on in a big way. I don't know how that looks, but I think it's really just the concept of it is really aligned with the direction that I hope people go with their lives.
I do as well, Crystal, and I appreciate you for seeing that, saying that. Part of what, you know, like this, the idea that we can shift the paradigm in a lot of different fields in a lot of different ways, I think is extremely potent and crucial right now. Definitely, I think a lot of people, like with the last, you know, couple of years of events going on and starting to get people's attention in some ways that are, you know, it's like a new realization that, like, oh, waking up to, you know, is this how I really want to spend my time? Because we have a limited space to do so, right? And what are we really doing what we want to do, and taking real stock of that. So yeah, I mean, Tattoo Vinyasa is to shift the paradigm of the way that we tattoo, the way that we use this opportunity. And it's to get people connected with this idea that it's an opportunity to use this tattooing as a personal transformation.
Yeah.
As a way of transforming themselves.
Yeah. Well, because I know I think about like, I've done a lot of medicine ceremonies, like in South America, and it's a life-changing event. Like, every time I've done a ceremony, whether it's ayahuasca or San Pedro or Santa Maria, or, you know, whatever it is, it always changes my perspective. And I always have, you know, like a shift in my mind, or something opens up, or something becomes more apparent, or clarity, I guess. But I think that all ceremonies can do that if they're done in like a mindful and a heart-filled way, you know. So, like, yeah, and I think that those mind shifts I just think they're super important. I don't remember exactly where I was going with that, but I do think that, like, we just need to really be expanding our minds into different realms, you know. And who knows what you're going to find, but I think that's we're not going to be able to solve some of the world's problems with the same methodology of thinking, because we'll just end up
right.
Like, we need to change.
Yeah, well, you have to be able to shift perspective. That's the biggest, I believe that's the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves, is to shift the perspective on our point of view, or in our experience as we move ahead. And that's the one thing that I know that I am in charge of. Like, I'm in charge of my perspective, and no one else is.
Yep.
And so it's really crucial to become connected with that, and to become an agent within that, because that is going to lead the way to whatever is coming next and whatever experiences we want to pull in.
Yeah, and we can create our future. Like, we create our reality. I think that that's something that a lot of people, you know, I don't know what's going on in their mind, because I hardly know what goes on in mine, but I do know that I can think something and I can take steps and I can get to that place. I can do that thing that started as just a thought in my mind. So we can literally change our behaviors. We can change our thought. We can develop different and new patterns. Like, our brains have plasticity beyond, I mean, people say that at the age of 4, like, your neuroplasticity starts to degrade. I don't believe that. I think that we just stop, like, fueling it. I think that humans have the ability for their brains to keep learning all throughout their entire lives. And I think a lot of that, creativeness goes away in some people because they aren't feeding that huge organ that we have in our heads. And it's important to be guided with our hearts, but I do think that using our mind in compassionate and kind ways goes a long way.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's I think, I remember your words really drew me back to where I was when I realized I had a choice about what my mind was doing. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on the 50th Street bridge over I-5 at a stoplight.
In traffic?
In traffic. I was waiting to get on the freeway, and I was facing west. I could see, like, the sun over the mountains, and I was like, I was in turmoil, and what had happened was not that important now, but it definitely, I was in the middle of, like, probably like a nasty breakup and a bunch of other stuff, and I was continually, like, my mind was dragging me through, raking myself over the coals of the experiences and what ifs and why nots and why and all this stuff. And at that moment, I realized I had a choice of what my mind was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was huge, because that started my process with, like, being able to control my mind and say, like, okay, well, let's just stop for a second, take a breath into the present moment. What is my body doing? What are my feet? I could feel my feet on the floor, and my legs and my butt in the chair, and my hands are on the steering wheel, and, like, these sensations that we have where the mind body connection is, like, drawing me now into the present moment. And all of a sudden, that agony of thought process that was spinning out of control for me was then stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a few breaths where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like fucking magic. You're
like, whoa, the sky is blue. Like,
right.
What?
I'm just like, all of a sudden, I'm just here now, being aware of what's happening, and it was incredible. And from then on, I was like, yeah, so how do I do more of this? How do I practice this? And how do I, like, make a pattern for myself? Because I think so much of our creativity, our intuition and stuff is trained out of us because of status quo programming, conditioning.
Yes.
That we forget we have access. And I think these types of experiences for people, and the way that, what tattooing does, it pulls you into the moment, because you are actually you have body sensations, and you're like, whoa, I'm here right now, and there's no denying it. and yes, I'm putting up resources, money, time, blood, sweat, and pain to, like, and sometimes it's pleasurable and sometimes it's painful. However, we go through this rite of passage. Rite of passage is an ordeal. It stretches us.
Yeah.
And so we go through something that stretches us, whether mentally, physically, or all of the levels. And we come out different on the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that's key in what's missing in tattooing for sure, and in a lot of other areas of life. And so bringing things together in such a way where we have this opportunity to use for ourselves is really what I'm hoping to do, and what I'm trying to put out in the world, so that more creativity and more open-minded thinking about the situations that we're in and what we're dealing with can occur. So
it's beautiful. I think it's amazing what you're doing, and it's really exciting to hear it come from, to hear how you arrived at through this process, because I think that the something popped into my head when you were talking about what you were just talking about, but the meditation that I do, I call it mind unwind, and I call it that because I think that all that conditioning that you're talking about, the media, the programming, just everything that we have, even our language, our English languages conditions us, to use certain words and roots of words and all sorts of things. It runs really deep. But I call it mind unwind because I think we need to hit reverse on all of that, and to really just go back to that really base level of like who you are, no societal anything, no parental things, nothing, just like at a base level, like this is me, I am, and so I think unwinding that mind is it's what you're doing a little bit of, it's what I'm trying to do a little bit of, and I know there's thousands of other people across the planet that are doing things like what we're doing too, and it is like little by little rippling, and I think that the tidal wave will get big fast, at least I hope. I'm hopeful that that this shift can really create a beautiful revolution of creativity and living a soulful life,
Definitely. That's good. It's good medicine.
Good medicine.
Planning to do one every quarter or so.
Okay.
So maybe four times a year kind of thing for this. Yep. I also develop custom programs, custom containers for people depending on their interest. I personally coach a number of people. I also take care of a kula, a yoga community of people who are working with the tools of tantra and meditation to move toward potential initiations and so forth. So I do a lot of different things. Okay. And this is all like part and parcel with my life's work. And so
I want a tattoo right here. Like I don't want it on the base of my neck, but I think off to the side, because I kind of want to like open up my throat chakra more. I think that I have like, I don't know, issues with that maybe.
Some stuckness there maybe.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I do like body work with a friend, and that's always where my energy gets stuck. And so I think there's something I can work through. And
that's part of why I got this on my neck too many years ago. I went through a very dark time and learned some things about myself, and put it there for not only for so that I would see it all the time, but also so like it would open up the energy there and allow me to speak my truth without fear or second guessing. So I think that that resonates with me for sure. It's like, to me, it's like my commitment to because I've never played music or done anything like that before, and
even from like when I was a young kid, I wanted to learn an instrument or play something. And my parents are like, they're all about sports. Like if I wanted to play basketball, if I wanted to do any sport, it was fine. But if I wanted to do anything else, it wasn't like, that wasn't like, I don't know.
Supported.
Was not supported.
Yeah. Priorities were different.
Yeah. So I felt like it was always kind of something missing in my life. And then I've recently, in this last 2 years, just really discovered like crystal bowls and a wooden flute and like all these things that vibrate at like, I feel like my level, you know, like they resonate with me. And so, but it's like my commitment to like, I want to do this. I want to keep doing it. I don't want to I don't want it to be like a phase or anything.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So you were looking at this, maybe something on the side of your neck for related to that. Was there were some other
I wanted
things?
it
There were like
to
a couple other
have, well, I was thinking the Om symbol because that like breath.
Well, and the vibration of the universe. That's
exactly.
That's
it's like, just seems like a no-brainer to me. It's like we are water and like, you know what I mean? Like, I like real basic things like that.
Okay. Well, that kind of a good moment for me to talk about. So the fifth week, which is the last segment of my program, Tattoo Vinyasa program, is related to energetics and the body-mind connection and how we create and use energetic patterning. And so we have ideas about also the symbolism of those things like yantras, and which are geometric containers for energy, and also transmission. So like the idea of transmitting energy to specific areas or bindu on the tattoo, so infuse those with energy and kind of like creates the resonance there for you to work with. And so as a part, this is something that comes with and is part of tantric practice and yogic effort and things like that. And so it's particularly unique to me in my process because of my experience, my lineage, and my work for the last 17 or so years on this pathway. And so it's called Shaktipat in most terminology, which is the transmission of Shakti into an object or to a person or what have you. And so this is something that I do related to tattooing, where if it's part of the discussion and process, but it's like if this is something that feels good to you that you want to do, then we can discuss that and like figure out the right placement for this transmission. And so it's something that I'm able to do and bring through. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a conduit.
Yep.
As Lakota say, we become the hollow bone for spirit in this particular energy. So that's part of my process and the actual experience of Tattoo Vinyasa. So like the idea of Tattoo Vinyasa is like, it's a deep dive on the inner levels in a lot of different ways, a lot of different facets of using tattooing as this opportunity, this vehicle of transformation. We don't actually tattoo in those 5 weeks. We set up the tattoo for, afterwards.
Yeah.
Again, like you don't have to go through the program to work with me in this way. I can set up like a personal thing for you. So, happy to discuss that if you want to.
So one question, it's group sessions, right?
Yeah, the 5 weeks are.
Okay, and do you do them over Zoom or do you do them in person? How are you doing it?
So I built it remote because, you know, like
Yeah, of
because
course.
of the way of the world right now.
Yeah.
So I built it for Zoom. So we have one 90-minute call per week. And then
Okay.
I use a couple of other mediums to transmit. So like I deliver PDFs, and I use Marco Polo, which is a video messaging app
Okay.
to prompt and to continue discussion with people and support people in the process, because we're working on a number of different things throughout the 5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how it's set up to be remote. I am hoping to have a in-person closing ceremony with everybody. So you know, so long as everybody wants to do that and can make it. So far, I think most people are fairly local to where I'm at right now, but that's totally, that can be fluid.
Yeah, I'm sure each session you're gonna have people, you know, hopefully from like all over the world. I mean, in theory, right? You could do it.
Yep, correct.
With anybody. It's really cool.
Well, that's the beauty of the the Zoom medium at this point, or the video conferencing and stuff like that. Pretty cool. We'll use the tools that we have.
Well, while we have this technology, we should be using it. I mean, that's one thing that for quite a few years I was like pretty anti-technology. I worked in broadcast news, and when the last time I walked out of the TV station that I was working for, I was like big F you, you know, I didn't want anything to do with it. And so I kind of like went anti-technology for a long time. I consider myself pretty lo-fi in a lot of ways, you know? And so when like coronavirus happened, and it's like, man, I might have to start using these technology skills that I have, you know, my old broadcast days, and start doing something like that. And then I was like, wait, this is a tool. Like, this is a gift. You know, my problem was how people were using that gift.
Right.
That was my problem with broadcast media. And when I made that perspective change in my mind, I was like, wow, this is a really powerful tool that it's like I knew it was powerful when I was studying broadcast. And then, you know, after years of realizing the monster that it is, but then now realizing that, wait, that monster could have just as much power on the other side if you start using it in the right way, you know.
Sure.
And so what you're doing is using it totally in the right way, I think. And I think I actually think it's why podcasts are really popular right now. Like, everyone and their brother has a podcast. Like,
sure,
I'm sure like 10 of my neighbors have one, you know, like, but like, I think, but I can see why, because it's a pretty powerful tool. I mean, we can co-create. I you know, talked to Anna Katarina, and she's way off in like Norway or Germany or something. And like, it doesn't matter. We're still creating a reality. We're still throwing out ideas, and it's
it's amazing. Like, I have about 20-ish people every month. We do a Kula, virtual Kula, where Kula means tribe. And so we get together and we discuss some important points of yoga and tantric practice, and then we do the practice together. And then, you know, I post that, and then people that don't make it can get on a recording and watch the recording of it. So, you know, I'm not a Luddite. However, like, technology is not my strong suit for sure. So I've always been like, I got my first cell phone after I was like way out in the sticks in Thailand for like a month. And this was in like 2001 or something. And I was like not into the cell phone thing, not into any of that. And I was on a bus way out in the sticks, and this phone rings, and this little old Thai lady answers. She's like, hello, in English, and then starts speaking Thai. And I was like, whoa, maybe I'm behind the times, you know, like maybe I should get. So when I got back, I was like, all right, getting a cell phone. And, you know, but I've been kind of slow to kind of behind the curve a little bit on tech.
Yeah.
But, you know, part of it is like, again, like you said, while we have it, let's use it for what it's worth. And, you know, I think we can look around and see very easily the effects of, you know, like how things become quote unquote viral, or things travel very quickly through, and oftentimes it's not very positive things, in my opinion,
Yeah.
that are going viral, that are quickly becoming like, oh, this is now a trend, because of the medium. And we see what propaganda can do, and very, very quickly, like, create a whole reality around what, you know, what people are being told. And so it behooves us to, like, you know, use this stuff in a way that maybe is going to help people, and help people engage their critical thinking, and also unwind the mind with like how we're approaching life and practices within our time and space. Because I mean, we can create amazing things together. So let's do it.
Yep. Yeah, let's do it. I'm game, but I also thought it's really timely for me to put your episode out. I haven't really done any episodes this summer, and I've actually had quite a few people that are friends and like acquaintances, either on Facebook or just text me, and they're like, did you stop doing your podcast? Like, don't stop doing it. I want more episodes. And I realized, I was like, oh, I took like summer off, but I never told anyone. I'm like,
gotcha.
You know, like I got it in my head. I'm starting back in September, and you know, so I just think what you're doing is super forward thinking, and those are the types of messages that I really want to get out into the cosmos right now. So
beautiful. Well, it's an honor to be talking with you, and connecting once again after 10 something years. And I enjoy what you're doing, and I'm happy to support that too. And
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, how come you're the sacred serpent? Because clearly, like, I have a lot of I like snakes too. So I was just gonna ask you how that came about.
So that came about. So it's related to the Kundalini type reference, in some ways. Also, like this idea of like the serpentine, the wisdom of like a serpent, and how it's also like sort of been maligned in Western culture. There's a fear around it and so forth, whereas like can be seen a lot as something that's like very primal and very powerful in terms of you know, some of the old stories that have been that are continuing to be told in different ways, like you know, the Garden of Eden and some of that. So it's like, you know, the serpent gets maligned quite a bit, and so I really see that as in a different way. So
I have a friend who is like a rat caretaker. He is writing this Ratty Uprising book, and it's a similar type of creature. I feel like is like, you know, looked always as evil or something, and really I think at least for snakes, for me, I see a lot more. I see a lot of power and wisdom. So I think snakes are cool. I like snakes.
Well, that's my parent company for basically all of my work. So I, like, before I was professionally tattooing, I was professional goldsmith and a jeweler, and a lot of
how you
stuff.
Know Angel?
Because so actually we go way back.
Okay.
When I first I came back to live in Seattle after a few years on the East Coast, and I've been a martial arts student for many, many years, since I was about 12. I went in there to get some supplies to take a grave rubbing of Bruce and Brandon Lee's graves to send to my teachers in the East Coast.
Okay.
That was like something that they asked me for specifically. So I go in there to the Dakota art store, and I was like checking out with the supplies, and he had a really nice Ganesh tattoo on his arm, and I was like, man, that's a beautiful Ganesh. Who did that? I've been actually looking for a tattooist to start a bodysuit, because I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, here's my friend's card, and he gave me Colin's card, and I started getting work from Colin. And I've been working with Colin for 25 years now. He taught me, he ended up being my mentor for tattooing and this whole deal. And then like about 5 years in, he reintroduces me to Angel. He's like, oh, you guys, I think you guys met already and all this stuff. And then like Angel found out I was a goldsmith and was like interested in trying to get into jewelry.
Yeah.
And I helped him collect hook him up with some people to get some equipment and some of this other stuff. And so it's been really like continual, like the wheel keeps turning.
That's awesome.
And it's super cool. And then actually we ended up living together a couple of years back because I was caretaking this large property, and he was in a space that he wanted to move into the bigger space. And so we actually had a shop together for a little while.
Oh, cool.
So it was super cool.
Yeah. No, Angel's a really good friend of mine. When you were saying like that you were like sitting on that in traffic and you had that like moment, I was sitting on at the time it was his girlfriend's couch, and she was a friend of mine, and I was just like going through a really tough time, and I was sitting there, I think I was crying, and he like, I hadn't met her boyfriend yet, or maybe I had, but not really. I didn't know him or anything. And he came and he sat next to me, and he just like asked me questions, and, like, what's the matter? What can we do? And then like he, cause I'm not super techie, like, and especially at that time I wasn't. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to give you a gift. And he downloaded a bunch of music onto my, I think at the time it was an iPod. I mean, this is like a long time ago.
Yep.
And that music that he downloaded, that playlist, just like, it kind of changed my life. Like I would just go on walks and listen to it. And I don't know. It was awesome. So he like, I've always had like a really special place in my heart for Angel, because he just like, he knew what I needed and just like
delivered.
Yeah, it was just so cool. And so
he's a beautiful person, and I love him. He's a brother and a friend for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's really neat. Well, I really appreciate your time. I mean, I don't know.
Well, thank you so much, Crystal. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I'm super happy to have this time and look forward to chatting with you more.
If you like what I'm creating here on my virtual campfire, please subscribe and give me 5-star reviews so that I know these conversations are worthwhile to others. I love doing this, and I hope you love listening. Thank you.